I would like to express my deep thanks to Swamiji, to Vishnu Mohan Trust, to my revered former head of the Department of English, Madras University, Dr. C.T. Infra, who gave me this opportunity to now speak about the Ramayana. I would also like to thank very heartily Mr. Patsardi, who has been so kind, so encouraging, facilitating and helping throughout. I would like to thank my very dear friend Prema, who is here, who presented me with a copy of Kambaramayanam many years ago, which I have finally used. I have many thanks to utter. All my life and all my friends have made possible this moment. I'm talking today on messengers, rulers, and messages in the Ramayana. The Ramayana has always been a text which is a personal experience for so many, and across what spaces my eminent former speakers have made very clear yesterday. Major General Rajiv Narayanan and Mr. Behra have pointed to, Dr. Behra have pointed to the great spread of the Ramayana across Asia. What a spread! How many countries? So it is indeed wonderful to add one tiny voice to the great chorus of those who love and respect Rama. So when I take Rama's name, it is with a great awareness that one tiny voice is being added to the numbers that are there celebrating Rama. I heard these lines once sung from Milton, and I have never forgotten them. Loud as from numbers without number, sweet as from blessed voices uttering joy. That is what it is to talk about the Ramayana as a personal experience, adding one's tiny voice to the numbers. Angelic, who have swelled a chorus before. Why have I taken the figure of the messenger as my entry point into this text? Surely messengers are just small, nameless go-betweens. We never, even if the text discloses their names, we don't remember them. I have a very good, very old, very deep Vaishnavite friend who once gave me a mischievous glance and said, okay, you know the Ramayana, tell me, who announced the news that Kara and Dushana and Janasthana are gone, dead, finished, to Ravana? Who said it? I said, yes, it wasn't it Surpanaka? She said, no, it wasn't. And then when I was just gaping at her, Akampana. I said, my goodness, I have read it again and again, but I've forgotten. Right? Our eyes don't look at these figures, at these names, even when disclosed. We forget. It is lapsed. I saw a brilliant foreword recently, which I would like to share with all of you. This is by one David Shams, who is a counselor on entrepreneurship. And he says, a tree grows in two directions at the same time. Did you know that? I didn't know. It grows upward towards the light, and it grows downward into the earth. And the root system is very like the part of the tree which is up there in the light. But everybody looks at the fruit system, hardly anybody looks at the root system. It is underground. It is not evident. Now the part of the Ramayana which can be summarized, which can be abridged, which can be told as a story. My mother, now at 94 said, I want this old little bit of the Ramayana which can be said in 3 sentences. Right? It's there at the back of the photo. Find it for me. And it was there. It was there. But this is the part of the Ramayana which is out there in the light. If you look at the unabridged Ramayana, and I recently looked at the Ramcharitmanas borrowed from a friend, it weighs about 8 to 10 kg. I can't clutch it and bring it here. It is huge. And part of that unabridged is this secret part of the text, hidden away from light. And these tiny, apparently unimportant figures are there. I am indebted. It's always been a difficult, dicey business being a messenger. Always risky. Never easy at all. And I'm indebted to Dushyant Sridhar for this little, vivid, funny picture into a tragic moment. The messengers have been sent to Bharata to bring him home immediately. Dasaratha is gone. His body is lying in oil. The heir apparent who should have ascended the throne is gone. He's exiled into the forest. Ayodhya is lying kingless. And the last thing they want is that the enemy should hear about it. Go immediately and bring him back, but do not tell him that the king is gone. This is what the messengers have been told, and they have a tricky task. So they go, and Bharata is, remember, has the premonition that something is wrong. There's some terribly deep tie which ties these siblings in together from beyond birth. And he knows there's something wrong. He has bad dreams. Here are the messengers. Here are they telling him that suddenly he has to get up and come. And surely there's something wrong. So he has these questions. Is my mother all right? Ah, yes, your mother is all right. And are my other mothers all right? Everybody is well. They're all right. Are my brothers all right? Well, the messenger would be thinking to himself, 2 of them are in the forest, but I have no news that they are not all right. So they are all right. And is the king all right? Now this is a dicey question. The king is dead. But you never say the king is dead. There's always another king. And you are the king. You're standing there in front of me and you're all right. So presumably you are well. The king is well. And Bharata has to be content with that till he reaches Ayodhya and finds out the dismal truth. Why are the messengers so cautious? Nobody would like later to explain to the king why he heard a lie. Yes, they are not supposed to tell lies. But it is always a difficult task. We all know that messengers get rewarded. Hardly anybody remembers to say of Kaikeyi that when she heard the news from Manthara that Rama would be Yuvaraja tomorrow, she took off a necklace and gave it. Ah, you bring me good news. This was Kaikeyi. But messaging is not always as easy as that. Right? Never as easy as that. Messengers frequently have a very difficult time indeed. As we know, when Hanuman had arrived finally bound by the Brahmastra and dragged before Ravana, Ravana in his fury, he has lost the Ashokavana, he has lost the guards, he has lost 5 generals, he has lost his son. Right? Understandably, he is in a very great rage, suggests that he should be put to death. On top of that, this monkey is cheeky. So there's enough justification he feels to immediately send him to his death. It is Vibhishana, of course, who tells him it is against all principles of Rajaniti to put a messenger to death. We don't do it. So this is one of the oldest provisions in international law, that the messenger's life is to be protected. Diplomatic immunity is at least as old as the Ramayana. Of course, You could do other things to him, and Vibhishana does say that you can think of other alternatives, and Ravana longingly thinks of something with boiling oil and fire in it. Let's set his tail on fire. So abuse, violence, mutilation, exile, and of course, when the tyrant cannot be restrained, death. All these could happen to a messenger. All these often frequently did, in spite of the provisions, or at least if not frequently, sometimes. Right? If any of you have seen this film 300, which shows you Sparta, right? The Persians are at the gates. They are hundreds of thousands. Sparta is a tiny city-state. And of course, the Greeks are finished. They've sent emissaries to both Athens and Sparta, and they have told Sparta, give me earth and water. These were the old symbols of capitulation. Surrender. Finished. You're finished. Give it. Right? And accept that you are finished. They didn't, I think, know or had not bothered to inquire what was the cultural legacy of Sparta. It was not a country which had the liberty to surrender like this in any war. They could not. They had built their city without walls simply because the ruler said, you will be walled now by the courage of your inhabitants. No protection except your courage. So you could not surrender. And they did not take insults lightly. They threw the messengers into the well, saying you can find both water and earth at the bottom. It was not considered even then correct. Herodotus, who reports this, says it was wrong to harm a messenger. But spies have no protection. And spies in any international law can be punished with death, certainly imprisoned. And often the mark of a spy is that he is in disguise. It is seen as immediate evidence of your malafide intentions if you are in disguise. You cannot be in disguise. There's among the instructions for army officers is if you are found in enemy country, you have your uniform on you and you have your number, and you're not allowed to disclose it, or you're not supposed to disclose, and they cannot make you disclose anything more than that, but you have to give those. And your uniform protects you because you can't be accused of being a spy. But in practice, most messengers are also spies. Frequently they are looking out for information which they can carry back. You come, you're a messenger, you're a go-between. You're moving from point A to point B. You're moving from one person to another, from one ruler to another. And you have to carry back something useful to the ruler who sent you, to the sender. So that is part often taken for granted. It is part of the messenger's duties is to find out useful information. Even military information to which he has no entitlement. And the spy is at risk. Now, why is it so difficult to distinguish between the two? And what is the messenger doing? Why is he frequently becoming the whipping boy? When kings, especially tyrants, are angry with the rulers, the senders who have sent them messages, they frequently victimize the messenger who is ready at hand. Well, the messengers are functioning as not just the feet. They are moving from place to place. The hands, they are acting. Sometimes, as in Hanuman's case, they are protecting citizens, their own country, who are unjustly imprisoned. In this case, a royal spouse abducted and imprisoned, whose rights have been taken away. They are the hands. They are the feet. They are the eyes. They observe and they transmit. They are the ears. They hear useful information. And they are the tongues of the rulers who have sent them. So when there is this kind of bodily identification, it's not surprising they're picked up as whipping boys and they are victimized. Thus, the risks of being a messenger. Now, it's interesting to note, I've just spoken of how Hanuman is treated when he is actually protected by a diplomatic immunity and a code. But what about messengers from your own country? What happens to them? What happens to the news that they bring? Is that all right? Are you protected? Well, actually, you see again and again that when there is a ruler like Ravana, messengers from their own country are far from being protected. A Kampana will say with great hesitation, I will tell you if you promise me your protection. They are terrified of Ravana. When messengers, this time nameless, rush in to tell Ravana, this is how Kamban describes it. Across a sea of blood, the messengers came to Ravana, trembling, mouth, feet, minds trembling. They approached and told him, your son is no more. Anyone who knows what Ravana did? Did he faint? Did he shout with agony? He pulled out his sword with a single movement and chopped off their heads. Like that. That is what Kamban says. The agony would come later. The scream of agony that Indrajit is gone. Thus, to be a messenger to your own king in your own country. The treatment that journalists, cartoonists, news anchors, writers, artists receive all over the world in too many countries to be named, when they give unwelcome news to the rulers, is evidence that this is a risk which is constantly being taken. Anything can happen to you. So, refusal to listen to a messenger, this constitutes extreme refusal. To listen to an unwelcome message and to silence, to erase that message. Thus, most rulers, if they are, it depends very much on what their code, inner code is, how they treat their own messengers. And they may have some limited protection from the laws, but that would depend on what laws and how well they are obeyed. But does this mean that all rulers must necessarily obey their messengers? Because often messengers are also advisors. A Kampana, after giving the bad news about Kara and Dushana, will step forward to give his own advice. And one of the pieces of advice is, don't, for pity's sake, don't meet Rama in battle. You will lose. I dare to tell you this because you have given me protection. Don't do it. So they're giving advice, unasked sometimes, and at a risk, but they give that advice. Now, does it mean the rulers have to obey that advice? Well, in most cases, rulers will take in the inputs from the news from messengers, the news from spies, the advice from elders, from ministers, from spiritual gurus like Vasishta, from spouses like Mandodari and Tara as far as Vali is concerned. They will take in all of this. They should, in fact, and even Ravana calls a council before the war is declared. He calls a council. They will take it in, but they have also in the final analysis to listen to the messages from inside. Your own rational assessment of the situation, your own inner values, right? Your own ego will guide you also. And if you are guided only by your ego, you're on shaky ground. But often that is what is happening in fantasy, which I'm just quoting for sheer fun. This is Stephen Donaldson in the mirror of her dreams. You have a king, his kingdom is collapsing around him. There is war not just at the border, but it's happening, violence is happening anywhere in the center, anywhere at all. And the whole kingdom may go. And he sits there playing chess. Like Shatranj ki khiladi, he sits there playing chess, doing nothing. And his wife has lost her temper and tells him, old man, she's not gifted with any tactful speech, by the way, and she's also tough. Old man, your kingdom is falling apart. I think you should take counsel, call your advisors, and summon a council and take advice. We don't want everything that both of us have worked for centuries now to go. It will all go unless you take action. Take counsel. The king says, Madam, with great politeness, Madam, I have taken counsel. I have consulted the best brain in the kingdom that is my own. And what that counsel is, I will not reveal at the moment, but you can guess from my actions. At the moment, I will go on playing chess. And his wife says, you will do that without me, and leaves. So this is what a ruler might ultimately do. Take his own counsel. Right? And if that counsel is only coming from the ego, then it is difficult. Because the ego, in Ravana's case, the desire for Sita is too strong to let him give her up. The ego which says, I am the greatest, I after all scattered even the 8 elephants at the quarters of the universe. I have lifted up Kailash. Why should I fear at all? This ego will not let him give up. So when you're consulting only your ego, you are not on good grounds at all. But there is another message which is being given all the time from a level much deeper, more underground than the shallow ego. And if there is a ruler who is able to consult this deep message from inside, his values will be different. This message is deep. And it says it's a great spiritual heart which is throbbing inside. Your ordinary heart is just a flesh replica of that, of blood and muscle. This spiritual heart says, I am, I am. It is being, it is consciousness. It is constantly connecting you with love to everything that exists. Its values can be inferred from those who are in touch with it. And we can see from Rama's actions what those values are. He respects the truth. When Bharata comes to plead with him to come back home, everybody is on Bharata's side. Vashishta, the gurus, the people, the army, the grieving mothers, including Kaikeyi, everybody wants him now to come back. Why would he stay? He would remember too that Dasaratha said, you overrule me. You can just seize the kingdom. Sons have done it before. They've just pushed their fathers aside or killed them and just taken the country. Take it. That's the one exit from the situation. So notice if he doesn't do that, all he gets is the capacity to keep his own word and enable his father to keep his. This value inside is going to prioritize truth. It is going to prioritize love. And you will have Rama saying, what use is Ayodhya or power or wealth or rule to me if I don't share it with the 4 of you? What does it mean to me? Nothing. The great bond between brother and father and son and mother and child, this is the bond that the great voice inside will instruct you. It is a bond of love because it is the one. It is everywhere. It is omnipresent. It cannot be ultimately silenced. It is what we are inside. It is inside us and we are inside it. Like the water is in the fish and the fish is in the water. You can't ultimately let go of it. It holds you. So that is the message of love which an avatar and a jnani does not have to consult. It is so scripted inside that he automatically takes his decisions from it. That is why Rama is the way he is. This is why when everybody thinks Bharata would be only too happy to accept the throne, it is what he will tell Lakshmana, no, you think he's coming to kill us? No, he's coming to return the kingdom. How can you think so badly of Bharata? Is it the love for the kingdom which makes you argue like this? If so, I will tell him to give you the kingdom. He will be glad. It's the harshest rebuke he ever gives, Lakshmana. I think I've never heard him say anything as harsh. This is because the sibling bond is not to be injured like this, with words like this. The one correct guess which I noticed Ravana making is, he says, if he loses Lakshmana, he will die. And that is exactly what we see, The loss of Sita is, as Hanuman puts it brilliantly, a trifold agony. Pain for her suffering, rage at the insult offered to her, and anguish at separation. But the loss of Lakshmana would be death. He says, when he sees Lakshmana's body apparently lifeless, I can't go back to Ayodhya. I can't go and say he is gone. The sibling matters so much. Why do I labor this point? Simply because there have been kings and not, just 4,000 years ago or whatever, right? 6,000 years ago, but as late as 1600, right? Around that, this is a king who killed all 19 of his brothers. The Ottoman Turks, it was legal to kill your brother if you were a king. So all 19 were summoned up. They were told by the brother, I am not going to harm you at all. You're just going to step one by one into the next room. And they did, and each one of them was strangled promptly. Because you were not supposed to shed blood. Okay, 19 died like that. So fratricide, royal fratricide, right, for the love of property. You notice that Rama thinks of kingdom very differently. The kingdom is the space he is in. Rule is the right use of power for protection others. And that is why you have that great moment which all of us cherish when he says to Vibhishana, yes, I give you my protection, and tells Sugriva, even if Ravana himself came, I would have to give it. If he comes and asks for protection, I must give it. I don't care that he belongs to a race we don't trust. I don't care that he is the brother of Ravana. I don't know anything more. I just give him because he has come and asked. And so this is listening to the inner message. I go back to messenger. I look at Hanuman as he meets Rama for the first time. And it's a grand moment in Kambar where you have immediately the two brothers and Hanuman understanding each other so quickly. Hanuman is in disguise. Remember, scout, spy, messenger. He's in disguise as a Brahmin student. And when he speaks so beautifully that for the brothers, the disguise is gone. This is not an ordinary student. Nobody can speak like this. Oh, no, this is somebody very special. And they ask him, who are you? And from Hanuman's side, there is the overwhelming love which he feels for Rama. And he remembers what his father had said. Vayu had said, find Vishnu and serve him. And that will be the greatness for both you and for me. And you will know him by the love in your heart. And Hanuman says to Sugriva later, my bones melted with love when I saw him. That's why I knew. I know. And you have him bowing down to Rama, and the two brothers saying, "Why are you bowing to us? You are a Brahmana, we are a Kshatriyas, and we just told you." He says, "No, I am just a monkey." And you have him suddenly shooting up like that into the sky. That is the monkey up there, up in the clouds. And they are looking, they're saying, "No, not ordinary." So, this is the throwing away of disguise. Now, when I am so indebted to Dr. Mishra, who pointed out that in Ramcharitmanas, there is, he is not just an avatar, he is the transcendent himself, Brahman. I would like to quote from Janaka the Gnani, his little address to Rama when Rama is leaving. He's just a boy. He's his son-in-law. "How can I tell your praise, O Rama, all-pervading, absolute, imperceptible and imperishable, the embodiment of consciousness and bliss, at once the sum and negation of all attributes, whom neither speech nor thought can comprehend, nor any argument infer, whose greatness the Vedas declare to be not this, O source of every joy. You have revealed yourself to my sight. You have exalted me in every way, and holding me to be your own servant, have made me your own. If there were 10,000 Sharadas and Sheshas, and if they were to keep up their count for a myriad aeons, the tale of my good fortune and the record of your perfections could not be exhausted." This is a celebration of Rama as not just Jnani, but as Brahman himself. You are the infinite one. And this is the recognition that the text is trying to force on every reader. Recognize. Do you understand? I am telling you this. And Lazarus come back from the dead to tell you all, like all the great texts. They are never dead. They come back and they tell us, I'm telling you something so important. And that is why finally the messenger is so important. I'd like to conclude with what the text is doing. It's taking off, spies, when their cover is blown, they're finished. Right? They have to stop their spying and they're immediately taken off because they can be the target for the next bullet. Right? You need your cover. Now, all covers are gone. As in the film Dunki, you throw your identity into the sea if you want now the liberation that the Lord gives. Forget it. Your name, your identity, your relationships, throw them all into the sea and say, now I have nothing. I am only your slave. If I have any identity left, it is that I am your slave. I have no other identity. And do not be deceived by the mystery of incarnation. So you have Garuda arriving when the snake arrows bind Lakshmana and all seems lost. And you have Rama weeping. He came down like a hill in flight, his lovely neck adorned with crores of gem-set necklaces. And he said to Rama, "O you ancient God, O creator's creator, what is this play acting you are engaged in? You who assuage the sorrows of all humanity cry in distress. You are the word and the thing. You exist beyond the Vedas. Bow, arrow, shining conch in hand. You are the killer and the killed. And yet you pretend to grieve a possible death." And Rama asks, "Who are you?" And he's gone. And after that, Rama muses, he was not obliged to give us life, yet he did. The noble seek no rewards. Does the earth repay the sky for rain? No, it is because of its nature. So from the self comes the saving into the self. The true messenger, Hanuman, is everything. When you come to the Sundarakanda, what is hidden, the gravity-tropic part of the text bursts like that into the light, with Hanuman standing on the mountain, pressing it down and then leaping into the sky. It is now out in the open. the greatness of the messenger. He is animal, God, and human, all. He is scout, messenger, envoy, diplomat, terrifying warrior, and incendiary, everything. Counselor, lifesaver, all of it, rolled into one. Right? And he is scripted inside with the message. This is what he recognizes. When he opens his chest to show Rama inside, he's saying, there is no distance between the sender and me. And there is no distance between the message which he transmits and what I have inside. This distance which the messenger is supposed to bridge from point A to point B, this distance which means there are two, only if there are two you can have a message from here to here. Well, this distance is closed, is finished, because everything now is inside within you. And this is ultimately why the messenger is so important, because these texts are written by people who are themselves messengers. They are connecting us with the story of Rama now across the centuries to each person who picks up the book or who hears the story. They are connecting like that. And they are saying, do you want it? I can tell you the story in two ways, just like Hanuman could. He could say to Rama, Kande Sitaye in 2 words and then tell you everything. Or he could say, once upon a time there was a king called Dasharatha to Sita, and he begins the whole story. And I'm doing it in both ways. Do you realize that? I've given you a text with all these kandas and 10,000 verses, right? I can do it long and I can do it short. And you want it short? Fall at his feet. And again and again and again and again, Hanuman will say, Rangada will say, fall at his feet, fall at his feet, fall at his feet. And Ravana will say, you idiot, you've lost your father, he killed it. No, fall at his feet. He will save you, fall at his feet. Don't count your losses, fall at his feet. So he can say it short and he can say it long. But he is saying it. And because he is messenger, because he has erased himself from the text. We don't know anything about Valmiki, that's all. He's erased himself from the text and sunk himself into the message. He's saying, oh, look at the messenger. He is immortal. Rama, the avatar, has a beginning and an end. But the messenger is immortal. And I am giving it to you.